I know you've heard this story before, life that seemed perfect until one fateful day changed everything. That was me, Ethan Hayes. I was happily married to an amazing woman, Sophia, and together we had a beautiful 6-year-old daughter. Leila Sophia and I met during my senior year of college. She was a junior at the time. Our connection was instant, and a month after her graduation, we got married. With my engineering degree, I secured a stable job at a national firm, while Sophia started working as a legal assistant at a law firm. 2 years later, when Lila was born, Sophia left her job to become a full-time mother. Life was good, perfect, even, at least that's what I thought. But everything started shifting when Leila entered kindergarten. That's when Sophia decided to return to work. Looking back, the warning signs were all there I just refused to see them. I truly believed she loved me as deeply as I loved her, but I was wrong. Once she rejoined the firm, she began dressing more provocatively. Our once passionate sex life faded into nothing. She started working late, brushing off my concerns with vague excuses. Whenever I pointed out how little time she was spending with Leila and me, she reassured me it was all for our future, that this new opportunity would benefit us financially. A few months before everything fell apart, I met her boss, Nathan Price, at the firm's Christmas party. I disliked him instantly. He exuded arrogance and barely acknowledged me. I kept an eye on them that night, but there was nothing overtly inappropriate between them. Still, something felt off. I just couldn't put my finger on it yet. As Leila's kindergarten year came to a close, my world collapsed. That weekend, Leila was staying with my parents, giving Sophia and me a rare chance to reconnect. I had planned a quiet night in dinner, a movie, just the two of us. But as I walked into the house, I found Sophia descending the stairs, dressed in an elegant short dress and high heels, her hair curled to perfection. She looked stunning. "Wow. Babe, you look amazing," I said, taken aback. "I wish you'd told me we were going out. Let me get ready. Where are we going?" She smirked, an unfamiliar coldness in her eyes. "We're not going anywhere," she replied. "I'm going out." "But not with you." I froze. "What?" "I have a date," she said, as if it were the most natural thing in the world. "And this is just the beginning. Starting today, there will be new rules. My boss is picking me up. I won't be home tonight." "I won't be home tonight." My words hit me like a truck. "What the hell are you talking about?" I demanded. "You need to calm down and accept it," she said matter-of-factly. "This is how things are now. I'll be back Sunday." "Like hell you will," I snapped. "If you walk out that door, don't bother coming back." She didn't flinch. "No, Ethan, I will be coming back. This is our home, and we are staying married. You need to understand, I still love you, but I need more. And if you make this difficult, it's you who will lose everything. Believe me. You don't want to end up penniless, or in jail. Lila needs her father. After all, her threat left me speechless, boiling with rage. Before I could say another word, the doorbell rang. She opened it, and there stood Nathan Price. "How did he take it?" Nathan asked her. "Not well," she replied coolly. "I think you should explain the consequences of noncompliance." Nathan was around my height, maybe shorter, but he carried himself with an air of smug authority. "Mr. Hayes," he said, stepping inside, "we need to have a conversation." "What I need," I growled, "is for you to get the hell out of my house." He smirked. "You're welcome to try, but I'd advise against it. My driver is right outside, and if things get physical, I guarantee you won't like how it ends." I glanced at the door and saw a large man standing outside. My fists clenched, but I knew I was outmatched. Reluctantly, I sat down. "Good," Nathan said, his tone condescending. "Now, let's discuss the new arrangement. When your wife became my personal assistant, she also took on additional responsibilities. She's been meeting my personal needs, if you catch my meaning, for the past 6 months we've been involved, but she's grown tired of sneaking around. So, here's how things will work. You and Sophia will remain married. You'll still be Leila's father, and your day-to-day life won't change much. Except for one thing, I will be the one fulfilling Sophia's intimate needs. Most of the time, this will happen at the office or a hotel. But occasionally, when you're not home, we may use your bedroom." I shot to my feet. "This is insane. I'm not going along with this. I'll divorce her." Nathan chuckled. "Oh, Ethan, you're forgetting who I am. I'm one of the most powerful attorneys in this city. If you file for divorce, you'll lose everything: your house, your savings. You'll still pay alimony while Sophia enjoys her new life with me." He leaned in, his voice dropping to a dangerous whisper. "And that daughter you adore. I'll have you accused of child molestation. The charges alone will ruin you. You'll go to prison, and even when you get out, you'll never be allowed near her. Your job? Gone. Your reputation? Destroyed. Your friends and family? They'll turn their backs on you. You will have nothing." I sat there, paralyzed. Nathan leaned back, satisfied. "Oh, be a good man, and accept the situation." Then, with a cruel smirk, he added, "Oh, and by the way, Sophia gives the best BJs." I didn't move. I couldn't. As Sophia walked out the door with Nathan, my world crumbled around me. I did the only thing I could think of: drank. By the time I woke up Saturday morning, she was still gone. She didn't return that night, or Sunday morning. When I picked up Lila from my parents, she looked at me with innocent eyes. "Where's Monty?" she asked. The words burned in my throat. She betrayed us. But instead, I forced a smile. Mommy had to work. Sunday night, Sophia finally came home. I was asleep in the guest room, but I knew she didn't check on me. Monday morning, I got up early to get Lila ready for school. Sophia barely spoke to me. As we left, she moved to kiss me goodbye, but I turned away. That night, she cornered me in the basement. "Are we going to have a problem?" she asked. I stared at her coldly. "You mean a problem with you screwing your boss?" "Yeah, I'd say we have a problem," she sighed. "Look, I didn't plan for this. It started with morning coffee. Nathan liked the creamer I brought to work." I scoffed. "I'm sure he was eager to share his own special creamer with you." She glared. "Don't be crude." Her excuses were pathetic. Her betrayal was absolute. And as she laid out the new rules of our marriage, I realized one thing: this wasn't over. Not by a long shot. Divorce wasn't on the table, she insisted. The lawyer had offered a slender ray of hope. Gather evidence of my wife's scheme, if I could capture a conversation in which they explicitly discussed their plans or conspired against me. It might provide the leverage I needed. Still, she warned me that even armed with proof, challenging someone like Nathan Price would be an uphill battle. Following her advice, I obtained a discreet, voice-activated recorder disguised as a pen. I slipped it into a small pocket in Sophia's purse among several other pens. It felt like a desperate long shot, but I couldn't think of a better strategy at the time. With legal avenues rapidly closing, I began exploring more unconventional methods. To avoid leaving a digital trace, I turned to the library's public computers. Crime shows had taught me that investigators always comb through a suspect's internet history. I couldn't risk being tracked. After hours of searching, I stumbled upon an extreme idea. It was drastic, uncertain, and something I never imagined I'd consider, but desperation pushed me forward. 3 hours away, I located a shabby Oriental supply store. Disguising myself with an old hat, sunglasses, and sweatpants, I did my best to become unrecognizable. Upon arrival, I was relieved to find the store nearly empty, except for an elderly man behind the counter. Approaching him cautiously, I lowered my voice. "I'm looking for tetrodotoxin and dimethyl mercury." "Trouble with a cheating wife?" he inquired. I returned a faint smile and asked, "Do you have what I need?" "I do," he replied. "But it's not cheap. It'll cost $1,500, cash only." "I assume you want this transaction off the record." Heeding his words, I produced $1,500 in 20s from the $2,000 I'd brought. Nodding, he disappeared into a back room and returned with a small paper bag containing 2 vials. "Handle these carefully," he instructed. "Small dose over time will achieve the desired effect." He also added 2 syringes into the bag for administering the substances, warning me not to let them touch my skin and advising that they be mixed into a liquid IV ingestion. I took the bag and quickly left the store, heading back to my car. And dimethyl mercury were as lethal as they were elusive. Both toxins had their roots in marine life. Tetrodotoxin, derived from the fugu fishon, infamous culinary delicacy, when prepared correctly, becomes fatal in concentrated amounts. Dimethyl mercury, a compound related to mercury, was even more dangerous. Their slow-acting nature meant The toxins would accumulate gradually, making it difficult to trace their effects, potentially being blamed on contaminated seafood, like bad sushi. The ingenious part of my plan was in its delivery. Sophia would unwittingly be the agent. She kept her special creamer at home until it was time to replace the bottle at work. Months ago, when I asked why she didn't store all of it at the office, she explained she feared theft, referring to it as her little indulgence. Now, I understood it was something she exclusively shared with Nathan. The non-dairy shelf-stable creamer was kept in a case in our pantry. My opportunity. The case lay open, with 11 bottles neatly arranged. I took one out for inspection. Its cap wasn't tamper-proof, but it was sealed with paper and foil beneath. For safety, I decided to start with tetrodotoxin. I filled a syringe and gently inserted the thin needle along the edge of the seal. Once inside, I slowly injected the liquid, careful to avoid any visible signs of tampering. After removing the needle, the bottle appeared untouched. Reassured, I repeated the process for the remaining 10 bottles. Once finished with tetrodotoxin, I prepared the dimethyl mercury with even greater caution, injecting the toxin into each bottle without a single spill. In the end, all 11 bottles were compromised. 2 weeks later, I noticed the creamer case was down to 10 bottles. My conscience began to whisper that perhaps I'd gone too far, but Sophia's actions quickly silenced any second thoughts. That Thursday night, the so-called sushi night, occurred once more the night she and Nathan claimed to have worked late while sharing sushi, though I knew it was a ruse for their affair. Leela and I dined alone as usual, and I tucked her into bed before retreating to my basement sanctuary. Sophia appeared with her usual air of entitlement. "If you want any sex, you've got 1 month," she declared. Nathan's decided, "I'm going off the pill in 4 weeks. After that, you'll have no access." Anger surged within me. "Let me get this straight, you're giving me a brief window to sleep with my own wife before you try to conceive a child with your boss? How generous. Wasn't the rule that I couldn't be touched unless I was already carrying his filth?" She smirked, seemingly unfazed. "That's right," she replied, "and don't call it that. I've told you how much I hate that word." "Then I'll pass," I snapped. "I wouldn't touch you whether or not his filth is involved." "Suit yourself," she said smugly. "I'll be upstairs in our bed. It's been a while since we were intimate." As she turned and walked away, I muttered under my breath, "You wouldn't recognize love if it stared you in the face." I knew some would say I'd gone too far, that I should have opted for divorce, but given the threats against me, the danger to my daughter Leela, the most precious person in my life, fanned the threat to my freedom. I saw my actions as self-preservation. What I was doing was morally reprehensible, yet I justified it as a response to the unimaginable threats they had leveled against me. About a week later, the creamer case dropped to 9 bottles. A month passed before the first signs of the toxins took effect. I monitored Sophia closely, noticing subtle changes. Her complexion grew paler, and her hands constantly flexing and wringing during dinner betrayed the onset of nerve damage. "Is everything okay, Sophia?" I asked, feigning genuine concern. "I don't know," she replied uncertainly. "My fingers feel numb as if they've fallen asleep, and I've been a bit short of breath for about a week now." "It's probably nothing," I said lightly. "Maybe just stress something at work." Her expression shifted, a faint sneer emerging. "No, there's nothing wrong at work. Everything's going great. It's just stress." 2 weeks later, the creamer case was down to 8 bottles. I assumed they must have been using a lot of coffee, but Sophia's symptoms became too pronounced to ignore. Her body ached, her breath grew shallow, and her skin took on an ashen hue. One Thursday evening, Sophia returned home earlier than usual, catching me off guard. "What are you doing here, Sophia? Isn't it sushi night?" I said, my tone laced with sarcasm. "I'm not feeling great, and neither is Nathan. We decided not to work late tonight," she replied. "Well, that's poor timing, isn't it?" I added. "You know that big project you and Nathan were supposed to start. It's hard to deliver if both of you are sick." Sophia stepped closer, lowering her voice so Lila wouldn't overhear. "Don't be a jerk in front of our daughter. I'm going to lie down after dinner." I took Lila to her room and, passing by our bedroom, heard the unmistakable sound of Sophia vomiting. Hesitant, I opened the bathroom door. "Please tell me you're not pregnant," I whispered. "Fuck you," she snapped. "There's no way I'm pregnant-y. Just went off the pill last week. You could show some compassion." "I'm really sick compassion." "That's rich, coming from you," I scoffed. "I'm your wife, Ethan, and you need to show your wife some respect and compassion." I cut her off sharply. "No. My wife died when she went to work for that asshole. She was replaced by someone I have no respect for. If you think you'll get any compassion, respect, or even kindness from me, you're mistaken." I turned and walked out of the bathroom, leaving her hunched over the toilet. Sophia was still in bed when I left to take Lila to daycare on Friday morning. I should have checked on her, but I honestly didn't care. Around noon, my phone rang. It was Sophia. "What do you want?" I answered. Coldly. "I need you to take me to the hospital," she said weakly. "What's wrong?" I asked, confused. "I'm sick, but it's not me. It's Nathan. He's had a stroke." I couldn't help but laugh. "Are you seriously asking me to take you to see your lover in the hospital? Please, Ethan, this isn't funny." They said he could die. Figuring it might raise suspicions if I refused, I took the afternoon off and drove her there. She looked awful, barely able to keep herself upright in the passenger seat. I whistled the entire way, enjoying every second of her misery. She kept calling me names, but I didn't care. At the hospital, we ran into Nathan's wife and one of the senior partners, Derek Carter. Carter pulled Sophia aside, clearly aware of their affair. "Sophia, do you really think you should be here?" "His wife is over there," he said. Ignoring my presence, Sophia pleaded, "Mr. Carter, I need to know how he's doing. I need to see him." Carter hesitated, but relented. "Fine, but be quick. I'll distract his wife." I escorted Sophia to Nathan's room. He looked terrible, his face drooping, eyes dull. Sophia rushed to his side, sobbing, kissing him, whispering words of love. I stood by the door, sickened. The nurse helped Sophia out, leaving me alone with Nathan. His eyes widened when he recognized me. He tried to speak, but no sound came out. I leaned in. "You're going to die soon, Nathan," I said coldly. "Before you do, I want you to know I didn't take your advice. I didn't accept your idea of a new relationship. And don't worry, I'm going to tell your wife everything once you're gone. Just know that I did this to you." Alarms started. Blaring, doctors and nurses rushed in as I stepped out of the room. They managed to keep him alive through the weekend, but by Monday morning, Nathan Price was dead. Sophia was a wreck. She deteriorated rapidly, spending most of the week bedridden. By Friday, she was so weak I had to take her to the hospital. The following morning, her doctor met with me. "Mr. Hayes, your wife's organs are shutting down. Her blood shows dangerously. High levels of mercury and another toxin commonly found in fish. Does she eat a lot of seafood? Maybe sushi?" I fought to keep a straight face. Yes, she and her boyfriend ate a lot of sushi over the past few months. The doctor's eyes widened. "Boyfriend Nathan Price," I said evenly. "The man who died here on Monday. They had an ongoing affair." The doctor sighed. "That explains a lot. Even though he had a stroke, her symptoms are eerily similar. Unfortunately, her condition is critical. It's only a matter of time." I was led to her room. Sophia, frail and hooked to machines, gestured weakly for me to come closer. Her breath was shallow. "I'm so sorry, Ethan. I now understand how badly I hurt you," she whispered. "The doctor says I don't have much time. I need to hear that you forgive me." I leaned in close, my voice low. "My dear wife, I pledged my undying love to you when we exchanged our vows. For better or worse, in sickness and health, and at the same time, you pledged your love and faithfulness to me. You broke those vows, belittled me, and humiliated me. I will never forgive you. I hope you and your lover burn in hell." A single tear fell down her cheek as I walked out of the room. Less than an hour later, she was declared dead. Telling Leela that her mother wasn't coming home was heartbreaking. I cried for her, not for Sophia. My wife had tried to destroy me, but I beat her to it. The doctors believed bad sushi killed them both. There was no autopsy, no investigation. I destroyed the extra bottles of creamer and the vials of toxins I had kept. I even retrieved the quarter-full bottle from Sophia's office. When I had her cremated, her religious parents objected, but I didn't care. With her ashes Any lingering evidence was gone. You'd think I'd be satisfied, but I wasn't done. I visited Nathan's widow, Emma Price. "Mrs. Price," I said, recording in my pocket. "I came to talk about your husband and my wife," she interrupted. "You can stop right there, Mr. Hayes. I knew about them. It wasn't his first affair, but she was his last. I'm sorry for your loss, but as you can see, I lost my husband too. I want to be clear, Mrs. Price. You knew your husband seduced my wife and turned her against me and our daughter. By doing nothing, you're just as guilty as he was." Her face darkened. "Wait a minute, Mr. Hayes. I didn't." A nurse soon entered. "Ma'am, you need to leave." "We'll have to disagree. Maybe if you had done something, your husband wouldn't have felt free to seduce my wife. Maybe my daughter would still have a mother. The fact that you knew will help when I go after his estate for the pain he caused my family." I left without another word. My lawyer doubted we could win a claim against Nathan's estate, but I wanted retribution. I had a better case against his law firm. With my recordings conversations proving their complicity, I confronted them. Their managing partner, Mark Holden, tried to brush me off, but when I played the damning audio, they crumbled. "What are your demands, Mr. Hayes?" Holden asked. "Your firm will pay me and my daughter $5 million, or we'll sue." They agreed. I built a new life for Lila and me. We traveled, spent time together, and healed. One day, at her favorite burger joint, I met Sarah, kind-hearted therapist who had endured her own struggles. Slowly, she became part of our lives. With Sarah, I found something I never thought possible: peace. She didn't erase my past, but she helped me move beyond it. For the first time in a long time, I was happy, and for Lila, that made all the difference.